senior NFL writer Jeremy Fowler joining the program. J-Bone, what's going on? What are you hearing about the Saints coaching search right now?
Well, Kellen Moore is in the driver's seat. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator had a great interview with the team Monday night that went late into the early hours of Tuesday morning. And so he is considered the heavy favorite around the league. He has thought about staff options that he would put together if he is the Saints close. So this is not a done deal. And certainly he can decide if he wants to stay in Philadelphia. He still has that option. Anthony Weaver, the Miami Dolphins defensive coordinator, I'm told acquitted himself very well. So he's in the mix here. But by all intents and purposes, most people around the league do believe that Kellen Moore will end up as the Saints coach when this is all said and done. But he's got the Super Bowl run, so nothing would happen or become official until after next week's game.
Most of all of the spots that he has coached and been coordinator of, he has had great success. There's no surprise why the Saints would want him on their sideline. We expect a lot of changes at quarterback this upcoming offseason. Staying in the NFC, what are you hearing about Sam Darnold's future in Minnesota, J-Bone?
Well, Sam Darnold was a heavy topic of conversation at the Senior Bowl in Mobile, Alabama this week. I talked to several executives. I was told that the Vikings have not made a firm determination yet about Darnold's future, but that they've had to think long and hard about keeping him. Whereas in the preseason, they were sort of comfortable with him having a good year, balling out, and getting another deal elsewhere. But he's played so well that they figure they're at least weighing, can they sit J.J. McCarthy for another year or so and play Darnold? Now, most executives believe that Darnold will fall into that 3-year, $100 million range as far as money, so he will get a payday. Justin Fields, arguably the number 2 free agent quarterback on our list, asking around, in the league, and he's in a good position to potentially stay in Pittsburgh. A lot of people believe, and I know some inside that building would even prefer, that Fields is the guy moving forward.
Oh, wow.
The wild card here is Russell Wilson, because he acquitted himself well with that offense, won him some games. He can have some options, though. Watch for Las Vegas potentially to reunite with Pete Carroll. I've talked to several ex-Pete Carroll assistants on that staff that were with him and with Russell Wilson. They believe that they made amends over the years for the fallout in Seattle at the end. Maybe they could rekindle things, and Pete Carroll will be looking for a veteran quarterback, most likely.
In 6 starts with Pittsburgh, Fields did improve his completion percentage, 66.3% of his throws. Jeremy Fowler with the latest this afternoon.
The chitter-chatter as to who's going to be the first overall pick in the draft there at the Senior Bowl is what?
Daniel Jeremiah put out his first mock draft, and he had the Titans taking an edge rusher at number 1 overall. And I was talking to DJ up in the booth, and that he gets calls and texts from people around the league about certain things he puts in there. And he said, I got zero pushback on not having a quarterback at number 1. Realistically, now, and I'm not speaking for everybody, there's a process here. We still got 3 months to the draft. You got the All-Star games, you got the pro days, you've got the combine. Like there's a lot of steps in this process. But I would fairly say I doubt, I don't know for sure, because I've not seen 32 draft boards, but I would strongly doubt that there are many, if any, teams that have a quarterback as the number 1 overall player in this draft. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders are both probably going to be first-round picks based on everyone that I've spoken to here. I don't believe, based upon, again, the preliminary analysis and conversations I've had, that anybody's sitting there going they should go number 1 overall. We've seen many times through the years where those guys get pushed up. That well could happen again this year. But there are other position players who, to paraphrase Chad Brinker, the president of football operations for the Titans, might be generational types of players that you don't want to pass up. I think all the teams that need quarterbacks up there in the top 5, top 10, combined with a quarterback class where you don't have those surefire 1, 2, 3, or in last year's case, 6 quarterbacks who are all top 12 picks. I don't know that we've got anybody who people would say deserves to be a surefire top 12 pick at that position this year. It lends itself a lot of variability in terms of how this is going to all play out over the next several months, which gives us a lot of fun stuff to talk about between now and Green Bay.
And obviously, in between now and Green Bay, combine, free agency, new league year, and we're wondering who's going to be out there in the hopper at the quarterback spot. Should you not want to draft one, or you're interested in free agency. So Matthew Stafford announcing he wants to keep playing. What wheels does that set in motion, Tom?
Well, really what that now takes to is the Rams to say, all right, we all know that Stafford's not playing for, I think it's $27 million this year, which is really $23 because there was a $4 million roster bonus that was guaranteed. It is essentially part of his 2024 salary. So let's say it's $23 million, but regardless, Matthew Stafford's not a bottom of the starting caliber money type of a player. Last year, there was a contract situation that played out all the way up until training camp with Matthew Stafford. They ended up giving him a raise, and in turn, Matthew Stafford gave up his future guarantees, which made abundantly clear he was really on a year-to-year plan here. The next step in this is for his agent, Jimmy Sexton, and the Rams to figure out what does a new contract for Matthew Stafford look like. Is it a multi-year commitment? Is it a one-year commitment? If they can't come together on a deal, is it possible that they could revisit the idea of trading Matthew Stafford? I'd certainly say anything's possible. I believe that the intention on all sides is for Matthew Stafford to be a Ram, but he's not playing for the numbers that's on the books right now. And with the number of other teams that are all going to be looking to solidify their quarterback situations as soon as possible, not draft weekend, Rich, not March 16th or whenever free agency begins, like ASAP. I would imagine that any calls the Rams are getting are going to be coming in the relatively near future here in the coming weeks, while they're simultaneously figuring out what does a contract look like for a quarterback who won a Super Bowl in his first year in LA, and down the stretch of this season looked a lot like the Matthew Stafford who's been one of the top QBs in the league for all these years.
And on What the Football with Susie Schuster, Amy Trask, one of our pod here, last one for you, Tom. Susie asked Pete Carroll about the possibility of Russell Wilson winding up there, certainly if they draft a young quarterback, and he's like, well, I just got here, and I anything I tell you would be just a guess. Is that feasible, do you think, Tom?
For Russell Wilson to go where?
Vegas.
I believe that that's certainly a feasible outcome, yes. And I know that there's been a lot of different things that have been written about Russell Wilson's relationship with Pete toward the end, obviously the relationship with the Seahawks toward the end. But, knowing Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, they're both competitors. They won a lot of football games together. Pete Carroll, you don't hire a 73-year-old coach to say, like, we're just going to rebuild. We're going to start from zero and draft a rookie quarterback and go through lumps for a couple of years. Pete's going to be saying, we got to win right now. Does that involve Russell Wilson? Does that involve them going after another veteran quarterback? There's not a lot out there in terms of free agency. It's really Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and then the other quarterbacks who, from the 2021 draft, who didn't end up going back. Plus, the Joe Flacco's of the world and stuff like that. I would fully anticipate the Raiders are figuring out something in terms of a veteran quarterback plan. They still got Gardner Minshew on the roster. They've still got Aiden O'Connell on the roster. Russell Wilson, it looked pretty good for a couple of months during the season, Rich. Down the stretch during the losing streak, it looked more like the Russell Wilson we saw when he was, slowing down during his time in Denver here. I just know, though, the way that Pete thinks, he's going to be thinking, like, I know how to win. I know the guy that I've won with here. I don't know that Russ ends up there, but certainly what looked like a one-team league for Russell Wilson in terms of back to the Steelers or where's he really going to go, there's at least one other team here that makes some logical sense as a potential landing spot.